Alrighty, gang. So wanted to give you an update on the program and how things are working here. This is training from my deload week that happened this week here, the mid to the end of May. And I had some really nice high points during that deload week. So you can see here, I got a 405 Romanian deadlift for 3 repetitions. Haven't done that in forever. Also, you can see here, my squat and my deadlift performance seems to be increasing because I could not really squat much heavier than about 365 pounds at an RPE of 8, okay, or 9. Couldn't really deadlift more than about 455 comfortably. And during deload week, I got that 379 squat, got a little bit of celebration in that afterward, because I think I had another one. I think that 379 squat was probably an RPE 9, and I'm never sure. So I'm going to call it at 8.5, one in reserve for sure, and maybe 2. And then that 475 deadlift was surprisingly fast as well. I called that an 8.5. So basically, this is what I did here. I did a little Tabata workout, 6 sets of 4 on pull-ups. But what I really want to kind of go over is just how the program is going right now. And I think what I want to do is start with training. So my way of tracking progress is through my failure sets. And when I am failing, getting more and more repetitions, I turn cells green. And then if it's kind of like flat, there's not really anything that's happening, I leave them yellow. And then in some cases, when things are going down, at least in the long term, I'll turn them red. Let me just kind of go over those for you so you guys can kind of get an idea of how I track performance. So this cable mid row, that is one that I always do at the beginning of the workout. It's always the same load. It's always the same tempo. And it's always training to a failure repetition on the last set. And here, since this block has started, you can kind of see that I was failing about the 10th rep, the 9th rep. And now these last couple of weeks, things are going exceedingly well. Now I'm failing on the 11th rep, all while keeping that apples to apples comparison, right? Yeah, where you see that it's green, I'm making progress. Where you see that it's dark green, or I guess light neon green, that is stellar progress. I can honestly say that with my pull-ups. 7.5, I was failing on the 8th repetition, and now I'm failing on the 12th repetition. And I go back to my previous block, I was failing like 4 repetitions. However, here as I'm recording this, thinking out loud, this was in week 1, and I've dropped a little bit of body weight. It's not exactly an apples to apples comparison here. Failing on the 8th rep, failing on the 10th rep. At week 1, right here, I was about 181 pounds. And during deload week, I was 178.6. So you know what we're going to do here? Brad's coaching adjustment kind of on the fly. We're going to put that in light green because that's not quite as stellar progress as I had first thought, because it's a little bit lighter body weight, right? So it makes sense that I'm failing a little bit later, but it's still, I'm going to take it because that's always the first exercise of the day. I'm still going to take that as progress. The seated lat prayers, I'm kind of keeping an eye on that because with 55 pounds and this always being after my bench press, repetitions have gone down just a little bit. So I started out failing about the 7th repetition, 7, 8. And this last week, it's just kind of dwindled down to I'm failing on the 6th repetition. I'm not too concerned about it because other exercises, namely my cable mid row and my dumbbell seal row, are progressing. But I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on that over these next few weeks. But that one, you can see that I'm failing with less repetitions. Like I was failing on the 7th repetition. And now this week here, I failed on the 6th repetition. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. Cable upright row, failing on the 11th, where I was failing on the 7th. Lots of green, not too much orange. And one notable thing is that my split squats are getting easier and easier. Part of it is now that I'm doing a set of split squats on day 1 and then another set on day 5. But nonetheless, I was using 23 pounds, that 23-pound weighted vest. I've increased that load to 28. And then at the beginning of this week, I increased it to 33. And I'm getting 20 repetitions now. So that's encouraging as well. So training performance on the way up. Now, let's kind of look at the other aspects of the program, right? First of all, recovery seems to be very good. If I am progressing in my training, that means that I'm recovering very well. Aches, pains, strains, the little shoulder injury, the elbows, that brachialis that I talked about in one of my sessions, none of them have been a hindrance. Pink right here, you can see this is my average sleep. I got a PR. I have never had average sleep score of 82. And that was essentially the week before my deload. And it's just kind of stayed upper 70s. And this week here, I'm averaging 77. So sleep is well, quality is good, and readiness is holding on really well as well. I got a PR of readiness of 65 here, 65.8 to be exact. And while it was down a little bit last week, it seems to be up this week. The aches and pains being at bay, the injuries being at bay, all the little strains and things like that, and I'm progressing in the gym, I'm going to take that as a big win, and I'm going to keep on my habits that I talked about on going all in on recovery video that I did a while back. Body weight, the dieting, it's not going quite as well. I got a nice drop here, 1.85 pounds. But then this week here, 0.65. Last week, I gained just a tiny bit. And this week here, it's looking like I'm losing that again with basically kind of staying flat here for about 3 weeks. Now, if you guys are members of 3DMJ Vault, you're going to see in there my cardio for fat loss course. I highly recommend that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my steps right here. You guys can see my calories are pretty darn low. I'm getting less than 14,000 calories per week. While I could take food down, it's awful early in prep. I am going to be suffering existing on 10, 11,000 calories per week. You know, we're looking at like 16, 1,500 calories, okay? These are my step counts right here. This week here, 39,000, 50,000, 47,000, 35,000. My average is 49.4 thousand calories per week. And if I add in that week right there of 39,000, let's do that real quickly. There's my average, 48,000 steps per week. So that is going to be my adjustment. I'm going to increase my steps. If I go 10,000 steps a day, I'm going from 48,000 on average to 70,000 on average. That's an increase of 20,000 or more steps per week. And that is going to probably get that needle moving down on the body weight front. But all is not lost because I have essentially to the USAPL Masters Challenge at the Mr. Olympia. I've got 18 weeks, 18 and a half as of this date that I'm recording this. And I have myself 13 pounds to lose. So 13 pounds, 18 weeks. I can do that. I can make this adjustment now, watch what happens, and then let that play itself out. So there is the program summary and the program update for this month, the adjustments that I'm going to be making. And I hope that you found that useful. Until next time, gang, thanks a lot. Take care now.